Central figures to emerge from these international arrests was Joel Hall, a US national based in Alabama. We now take a look at some details of this major operation undertaken by the NCB, which has spanned cooperation between at least 7 confirmed countries. So, we take a look here at Operation Medmax. The target, of course, was a tech-driven drug trafficking syndicate that was operating on a transnational basis. Here, a tech-driven drug trafficking syndicate. So, we take a look at the details of Operation Medmax. It distributed controlled pharmaceutical substances on a transnational basis. Here we can see the details of Operation Medmax and what it exactly tackled. It tackled a network that distributed controlled pharmaceutical substances across at least 4 continents, as we saw. The US Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network was one of the agencies that the NCB cooperated with. As we saw, at least 7 confirmed nations cooperated to take down this system, and the US Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network was one of these agencies. The other agency was the United States Drug Enforcement Administration. So, 2 US based agencies that the NCB cooperated with. The third, of course, was the Australian Federal Police. Australia was one of the countries, of course, where these drugs were being distributed. So, as we can see, the Interpol was another agency that the NCB cooperated with in order to take down this transnational drug network. Another one was the UAE Finance Intelligence Unit. So, that is another agency that we saw the NCB cooperating with in order to take down this transnational drug network. Another country that participated in this cooperation was Estonia, of course, one of the 7 nations confirmed to be a part of this takedown. Another one was Spain, another country after Estonia to cooperate within this network. Switzerland, again another country that we saw the NCB cooperating with in order to take down this network. 11 arrests made. The suspected masterminds, we now take a look at the masterminds behind this transnational drug network. Joel Hall, who is an Indian American financier. He is situated in Alabama, United States, and he served as a key reshipper for the syndicate. So, an Indian American, Joel Hall, located in Alabama, he also received bulk consignments from India and distributed them across the United States. He was, of course, previously arrested in Connecticut in 2019 for the distribution of cocaine. So, he is a past offender when it comes to drug trafficking. He is 37-year-old with origins from Mumbai. So, this is another mastermind, suspected mastermind in this network, who is Manthan Rohit Shah, who is the UAE based kingpin. He is a 37-year-old who is, of course, has origins from Mumbai in India. So, after Joel Hall, this is another Indian origin person suspected to be behind this network. He was previously indicted in the US federal court for laundering proceeds from drug sales. So, another previous offender, again, who is believed to be a mastermind behind this network. He also facilitated payments for 29 US bound consignments that were bound within this syndicate that we saw. He also deducted 15% commission before rerouting proceeds to reshippers. So, 15% of the proceeds of the rerouting went to Manthan Rohit Shah, who is one of the suspected masterminds behind this syndicate. So, 2 Indian origin suspects, one based in the United States and another based in UAE, are suspected to be the masterminds behind this transnational drug network. I now have my colleague Arzu Seth joining me for more details. Arzu, a big breakthrough by the NCB coordinating with at least 7 countries to take down this massive drug network. Take us through the details, please. What are the updates that you're picking up? Two Indian origin based suspects believed to be the masterminds behind this network.
Well, definitely, India plays a very, important and significant role in this operation. And on Wednesday, in fact, Home Minister Amit Shah has congratulated NCB and all agencies on busting the global drug cartel. And in the post on X platform, Shah wrote that and I quote, congratulations to NCB and all the agencies on busting a global drug cartel. The probe set a stellar example of multi-agency coordination and also resulting in 8 arrests and seizures of the 5 consignments while triggering crackdown in the US, Australia against the ring that operates across 4 continents and 10 plus nations. Also, Shah wrote that our agencies are constantly monitoring the sophisticated mode like crypto payments and other drop shippers used by these gangs. And Prime Minister himself, government is determined to saw off every drug cartel and protect our youth no matter where they operate from. So yes, major action that is now being taken, and also this operation begins in May 2025, and now Operation Mad Max has emerged as one of the most expensive international law enforcement efforts targeting the pharmaceuticals trafficking in recent years. Also, the operation spanned over 4 continents: Asia, North America, Europe, Australia, and involved coordinated action across at least 7 confirmed countries: India, United States, America, the United Arab Emirates, and also Spain, Switzerland, and other. So while India served as the nerve center of the operation, hosting the syndicates, core logistical and also the production operation, the supply chains and delivery network extended deep into the North America, Europe, and authorities has also confirmed that the syndicates leveraged global courier services, darknet platforms, and sophisticated financial channel to move illegal pharmaceuticals product across border undetected. So yes, major role that India is playing against this trafficking, pharmaceutical trafficking, and Operation Mad Max playing a crucial role. Yes.
Well, thank you, Arzu. I also now have Parveen Dhal, former NCB inspector, joining me on the broadcast for more on this story. So this operation, major breakthrough, of course, by the NCP. We also saw that this operation spanned intelligence agencies from at least 7 confirmed nations. Previously, also India has collaborated with international agencies. How do you see India leading the charge against such illicit transnational networks?
Yeah, ma'am, definitely. This is a perfect example of the agencies of India along with the international coordination. If you can see this in the particularly operation, you can see this operation begins with the seizure of around 3.7 kg tramadol pills, which was recovered from the Mandi house on the intercept on a specific intelligence. And after that, some modus operandi begins, and some furthermore intel is collected that some persons from UP, Karnataka is handling the same, and they also shipped around 50 shipments to the different nations, out of which maximum are to the US particularly. In the recent time, US Customs also seized various tramadol drugs. There are too many abuses. In the recent time, the abuse of the tramadol drugs, basically the pharmaceutical drugs, is increasing in a very high. So this is in my opinion, this is a perfect example of the international coordination of the India, and the NCB continuously NCB even begins these operations against those persons who are diverting these pharma medicine in the illicit market, or they are diverting in the illicit, basically in the access borders, basically.
Well, sir, I would also like to ask you, how significant is the use of this digital trafficking model that we saw with the use of cryptocurrency and e-commerce platforms. How significant is this, and how do we correctly monitor and tackle this situation that is emerging with the use of these new technologies?
Actually, ma'am, you know that in the recent time the technology is continuously enhancing, and for the same the agencies also get developing basically the network of the informer and the development of their tools also. In the recent times, you can also see that a phone number is also launched throughout the India. If anyone having any knowledge about the illicit drugs, they can directly inform to the NCB on this, particularly this landline number. And along with that, I just want to say that in recent times you can also show you can also read out that NCB billings also sees around 14%, which leads only total leads on the cryptocurrency. In the recent times, what we can see is that there is a dark net, which is very hard to reach. That because we do not have the we do not have the from where they are operating. We are not able to find out from the particularly which Wi-Fi actually they are getting. And after that, we on the basis of the informer, we are getting this, and around 14 cases have been made in the previous also, that the NCB believes don't unit activity. In the same modus operandi has been used that they receive the money in crypto or by through the hawala, and they further sold the drugs to the various persons.
Well, sir, thank you so much for taking the time to join us with your perspective. Meanwhile, let's also now take a closer look at the Indian network that was behind this. We of course saw suspected masterminds based in the United States and the UAE. We now take a closer look at the Indian network behind this operation. We start of course in Delhi with two B Pharma graduates from Delhi who set up a B2B platform to take bulk orders from overseas. So this is where it started, two B Pharma graduates who set up a platform to take bulk overseas orders. Next, we move to Uttarakhand, where a drug stockist from Roorkee handled inventory and shipment. So after the overseas bulk orders, this drug stockist in Uttarakhand handled the inventory. We then again move back to Mayur Vihar in New Delhi, where another handler of the same network also operated. So we have this network in Delhi. We then move on to Udupi, Karnataka, where a fully functional call center with 10 staff members was functioning. They of course handled sales inquiries, payment processing and consignment tracking. So this call center in Karnataka was handling a major part of this operation. Then in Jaipur, Rajasthan, we have a man who handled logistics for this international network. So of course, we saw details of the Indian network behind this as well. I am now also being joined by Mr. B.L. Vohra, former IPS officer, for more on this story. Sir, firstly, of course, how crucial is multi-agency coordination in such cases, and also what does this operation reveal about India's capacity to lead the charge in such cases and the role that it can play in the future as well?
Well, on both counts with Malika, I think it has been a good job done. See, as far as the first question is concerned, see, unless there are multi-country agencies involved in investigation and follow-up action, frankly, you cannot reach to the source and to the dead end and to all the countries involved, because drug networks are international drug works. I think it's very, very important, because if you know, let's say, only about India, it's not going to be a much bigger use, it will be a limited use. So I think it's an excellent thing where we have drug enforcement agencies of all the countries of the world which are involved. Second, for India to do it, take a lead is a huge, huge first step, I think, in the Indian investigating agencies. And I think of late, the Narcotics Control Bureau has been doing an extremely good job in the last couple of years. And of course, it depends on the officers posted there. It depends basically on the government support there. So I think on both counts, it's an excellent job done. And I think we should be very proud as Indians. But now what is now crucial is that these should be taken to the logical conclusions, interrogations of the arrested guys, then of course courts, and finally conviction. That is very, very important. And it should be, of course, done in all the countries, whether it is Australia in this involved, or United States, or even UAE, the major countries which have been mentioned in this investigation reported in this regard. Balvika.
Well, sir, I would also like to ask you what security vulnerabilities has this operation thrown light on, as we saw that encrypted communication and decentralized financing such as cryptocurrency were also used. But of course, these things help our security agencies as well. So what are the vulnerabilities that this operation has shown, and how do we effectively tackle and oversee them?
The biggest vulnerability, I will say, is always the technology. Technology is progressing by leaps and bounds. And earlier we had normal wireless messages, phone calls, over a period of time we have had these things. Now with AI coming, it's going to be much harder. The most difficult challenge for any police or investigating agency in India is how to catch up with the criminals. The criminals move much faster, whether it is transport, technology, everything. And government systems are very slow, they take a lot of time. That is the challenge always, and it is going to remain a challenge. So we are always running behind the criminals. But yes, we have to catch up. We are catching up, maybe a little slowly. I think government should wake up and give much more powers to the investigating agencies to go on and latch on to the new technologies without government sanctions. I think it's very, very important in the present day scenario, the way things are moving about. And I think, these drugs are a great threat to India's security. National security, terrorism and all that is financed by these agencies and all. So I think it's very, very important. Thank you, Malka. Anything else?
Well, so finally, one last question that I would like to ask, of course, is that do you think that this operation will lead to more sustained changes and cooperation in such cross-border enforcement and multi-agency cooperation?
Definitely, because it's like tasting blood once. So I think others have also seen now that in this coordination, where India has taken lead, I think so India has also come up to that level now, that it is almost on the same footing as the American agencies are or the Australian agencies are. And India will definitely be a partner and will be looked up to investigate and coordinate and cooperate in such operations.
Well, sir, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on NewsX. Major breakthrough by the NCB, of course, but we now also take a look at some more breaking news coming in. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu spoke at the 90th birthday celebrations of the 14th Dalai Lama in Dharamshala. He said, and I quote, "His teachings have influenced our governance philosophy. We draw inspiration from his principles of compassion and non-violence in shaping policies that promote harmony and collective well-being. Our investment in value-based education, including monastic schools, is guided by his belief in educating students to create happy and responsible citizens." Let's in fact listen in to what the Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister said.
His Holiness has visited Arunachal Pradesh several times and have left lasting mark on our cultural and spiritual fabric. His historic journey through Kenzamani of Mon Tawang way back in 1959 enshrined our collective memory, and His Holiness teachings have influenced our governance philosophy. We draw inspirations from his principles of compassion and non-violence in shaping policies that promote harmony and collective.
My colleague Sambhav Sharma joins us on the broadcast for more. Sambhav, statement by the Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister, of course, he has said that the Dalai Lama's teachings have shaped their governance as well. So take us through this statement by the Chief Minister.
Well, Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Prema Khandu in attendance of the Dalai Lama's birthday celebration, which is going on in the Dharamshala, and he said the Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister has said that China has no connection with Dalai Lama's institution, which belongs to Tibet and Himalayan people. So there is this strong statement by Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister. Khandu also emphasized that the trust which is established by the sitting Dalai Lama, that is the 14th Dalai Lama, established by him, is a distinct and spiritual institution and not rooted in China. Not rooted in China, but revered across the Himalayan belt. So this is what is said by Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister, and also Dalai Lama has thanked his well-wishers and encouraged people to focus on compassion, warm-heartedness and peace of mind. So these are the, this was the statement by Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister, and also there is an important statement made by Union Minister Kiren Rijiju, who is there. He praised Dalai Lama and said that Dalai Lama is more than just a spiritual leader, calling him a living bridge between ancient wisdom and the modern world. And Kiren Rijiju, Union Minister, is in attendance of the event there in Dharamshala, and he made this statement on the 90th birthday, during the 90th birthday celebration of Dalai Lama. Rijiju also highlighted the honor of hosting the Dalai Lama in India and referred to the deep respect India holds for him. And he also noted that Dalai Lama himself regards India as Arya Bhumi, the noble land where Buddha's teachings originated. And this remark by the Union Minister reflects
stay on with us, Sambhav. In fact, we of course are looking into Union Minister Kiren Rijiju, who has given a statement during the celebrations of the 90th birthday of the 14th Dalai Lama in Dharamshala. The Union Minister stated, "Your Holiness, you are more than a spiritual leader. You are a living bridge between ancient wisdom and the modern world. We feel blessed by his presence in our country, which he regards as his Arya Bhumi." Let's in fact listen in.
With deep reverence and boundless joy, I join millions around the world in wishing His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama a most happy and joyful 98th birthday. This is a celebration of a remarkable life dedicated to compassion, wisdom and non-violence. Your Holiness, you are more than a spiritual leader. You are a living bridge between ancient wisdom and the modern world. For over 7 decades, you have carried the light of Buddha's teachings with humility and clarity, guiding not only followers of Tibetan Buddhism, but people of all faith and backgrounds towards a more compassionate and ethical way of.
Sambhav Sharma continues to be with us on the broadcast. Sambhav, big statement by the Union Minister, who said that of course we feel blessed to have the Dalai Lama's presence in our country. Take us through this statement and the celebrations currently taking place in Dharamshala.
Well, Dharamshala is celebrating the 90th birthday of 14th Dalai Lama, and where Kiren Rijiju, Union Minister, is in attendance of the event. Here the Union Minister Kiren Rijiju praised Dalai Lama on his 90th birthday and said that Dalai Lama as more than just a spiritual leader and calling him a living bridge between ancient wisdom and the modern world. And Rijiju also highlighted the honor of hosting Dalai Lama in India and referred the deep respect India holds for him. He also noted that Dalai Lama himself regards India as his Aryabhumi, the noble land where Buddha's teachings originated. So these are very important statements made by Union Minister Kiran Rijiju, who is attending the 90th birthday celebration in Dharamshala of the Dalai Lama. And here Kiran Rijiju also remarked that which reflects India's continuous moral and cultural support to Tibetan spiritual leader. So these were the statements by Union Minister Kiran Rijiju. And also earlier government of India has made its stand very clear that it is the current Dalai Lama, that is the 14th Dalai Lama, who is to choose his successor through the trust established by the current Dalai Lama. However, China has a differing opinion. China has its own way of selecting or choosing the current Dalai Lama. So there is a bone of contention.
Thank you for joining us with those details. But that's all for this bulletin. We'll take a short break.
यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के संकल्प सबका साथ सबका विकास को माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने सामाजिक एकता एवं समरसता के उच्चतम मानदंडों के साथ बनाया है यूपी सरकार का मूल मंत्र। परिणाम स्वरूप 2017 के बाद उत्तर प्रदेश में सभी को मिले बिना किसी भेदभाव के रोजगार के समान अवसर एवं योजनाओं के लाभ। 8.5 लाख से अधिक सरकारी और 3,75,000 से अधिक संविदा पर नौकरी पाने वाले जहां निष्पक्ष और पारदर्शी प्रक्रिया के साक्षी बने, वहीं अनुसूचित जाति, जनजाति, पिछड़े एवं निम्न आय वर्ग के अभ्यर्थियों को मिला आरक्षण का संपूर्ण लाभ। प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना और जल जीवन मिशन से लेकर मुख्यमंत्री युवा स्वरोजगार और एक जनपद एक उत्पाद जैसी विभिन्न योजनाएं यूपी में अंत्योदय से सर्वोदय का सपना कर रही हैं साकार। काम दमदार, डबल इंजन सरकार। नवाचारी और नवोन्मेषी शिक्षा व्यवस्था से युवाओं की आशाओं को नई उड़ान दे रहा है नया उत्तर प्रदेश। ग्रामीण परिवेश हो या फिर नगरीय क्षेत्र, गुणवत्ता युक्त शिक्षा बनी है नए उत्तर प्रदेश की पहचान। स्कूल चलो अभियान और शारदा प्रोग्राम जैसे अभिनव प्रयासों से ड्रॉप आउट दर में आई है उल्लेखनीय गिरावट। ऑपरेशन कायाकल्प और टैबलेट वितरण जैसे कदमों से डिजिटल शिक्षा को मिले हैं नए आयाम। बेसिक शिक्षा से हायर एजुकेशन तक शिक्षा में उठाए गए अभूतपूर्व कदमों से हुआ है एजुकेशन का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। अंत्योदय और बिना किसी भेदभाव के सबको समान शिक्षा का अधिकार बना है युवाओं के उज्जवल भविष्य का आधार। वर्ष 2017 के बाद डबल इंजन सरकार के अभिनव प्रयासों ने नए उत्तर प्रदेश की शिक्षा व्यवस्था में किया है युगांतकारी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। समान शिक्षा का अधिकार, डबल इंजन सरकार। यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के संकल्प सबका साथ सबका विकास को माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने सामाजिक एकता एवं समरसता के उच्चतम मानदंडों के साथ बनाया है यूपी सरकार का मूल मंत्र। परिणाम स्वरूप 2017 के बाद उत्तर प्रदेश में सभी को मिले बिना किसी भेदभाव के रोजगार के समान अवसर एवं योजनाओं के लाभ। 8.5 लाख से अधिक सरकारी और 3,75,000 से अधिक संविदा पर नौकरी पाने वाले जहां निष्पक्ष और पारदर्शी प्रक्रिया के साक्षी बने, वहीं अनुसूचित जाति, जनजाति, पिछड़े एवं निम्न आय वर्ग के अभ्यर्थियों को मिला आरक्षण का संपूर्ण लाभ। प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना और जल जीवन मिशन से लेकर मुख्यमंत्री युवा स्वरोजगार और एक जनपद एक उत्पाद जैसी विभिन्न योजनाएं यूपी में अंत्योदय से सर्वोदय का सपना कर रही हैं साकार। काम दमदार, डबल इंजन सरकार। नवाचारी और नवोन्मेषी शिक्षा व्यवस्था से युवाओं की आशाओं को नई उड़ान दे रहा है नया उत्तर प्रदेश। ग्रामीण परिवेश हो या फिर नगरीय क्षेत्र, गुणवत्ता युक्त शिक्षा बनी है नए उत्तर प्रदेश की पहचान। स्कूल चलो अभियान और शारदा प्रोग्राम जैसे अभिनव प्रयासों से ड्रॉप आउट दर में आई है उल्लेखनीय गिरावट। ऑपरेशन कायाकल्प और टैबलेट वितरण जैसे कदमों से डिजिटल शिक्षा को मिले हैं नए आयाम। बेसिक शिक्षा से हायर एजुकेशन तक शिक्षा में उठाए गए अभूतपूर्व कदमों से हुआ है एजुकेशन का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। अंत्योदय और बिना किसी भेदभाव के सबको समान शिक्षा का अधिकार बना है युवाओं के उज्जवल भविष्य का आधार। वर्ष 2017 के बाद डबल इंजन सरकार के अभिनव प्रयासों ने नए उत्तर प्रदेश की शिक्षा व्यवस्था में किया है युगांतकारी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। समान शिक्षा का अधिकार, डबल इंजन सरकार।
Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Justice Suryakant, while speaking in Malaysia, has made some important comments on enforcement of arbitration awards, also on cost of arbitration and other related issues which he's spoken about. That we will discuss on the show today, but it was very encouraging for the business community because he linked the issue of rule of law, dispute resolution, ADR, which is alternative dispute resolution, with investments and business climate. It's so refreshing to know that a judge is thinking about this issue holistically. And, this gives us the opportunity to discuss on what he spoke and the larger audience to know what he's spoken about. Let me introduce to you Justice M.M. Kumar. Sir has served as a Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Earlier, he served as the Judge of Punjab Haryana High Court, then went on to become the first president of the National Company Law Tribunal, a very successful tenure, and now is a leading arbitrator. Good to see you, sir, and looking forward to some interesting insights. We have with us a gentleman who served as the Additional Solicitor General of India for a period of 9 long years, Senior Advocate Sanjay Jain, now practices at the Supreme Court of India, High Court and other forums. Good to see you, and would like to know your views on arbitration, which you also do. We have with us Neeti Sachdeva. She is the Secretary General of the Mumbai Center for International Arbitration. She's in thick of all the action of arbitration. The good thing is that with her at help in the on the arbitration center, we've put Indian arbitration on the globe map. Arbitration centers outside of India have taken note of a lot of arbitration that has started happening in India. Good to see you, Neeti. At the outset, let me request Senior Advocate Sanjay Jain, if you could, in a few words, just reflect on what he said. Then we go to Justice M.M. Kumar for his comments on Justice Suryakant.
Tarun, as per the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that is UNCTAD World Investment Report of 2023, India has secured world's third highest FDI for new greenfield projects. And in 2022, and overall, India's receipt, so far as FDI is concerned, is 8th largest. It is as much a matter of rejoice as it is a sort of a hearing a warning bell, because if the arbitration awards are not timely and properly enforced, then this confidence shown by the investors may gradually fade away. Justice Suryakant's address in Malaysia ought to be understood in this context. that he has very timely indicated to all of us, the stakeholders in India, that we should pull our socks and do something meaningful to ensure that the arbitration hub that we are envisaging and we are visualizing that India should be, especially with such a robust rule of law and independent judiciary, we may not lose our priority or our primacy in this race.
Okay, thank you for the opening comment. We go to Justice M.M. Kumar. We've had the benefit of having you on the show earlier, where you've spoken very passionately about the interest cost, the other implications when resolutions are delayed. And this was in the context of your tenure at the National Company Law Tribunal. Now you are basically engaged in arbitration. So give us your view in relation to what Justice Suryakant spoke in Malaysia.
Thank you, Tarun. If you see the address of Justice Suryakant, it is referring to his own experiences in a case when his lordship was Advocate General, Haryana. And what he says, that a matter which was hanging, it took half an hour to resolve. But in the next breath, he also says that it doesn't mean that I am favoring mediation over arbitration. Arbitration is going to envelop every branch of law. That is my belief. Mr. Sanjay Jain has given us the figure 2023. We are third. And if this trend continues, we would be facing challenges. In this very address in Malaysia, where the other person has talked about learning from Singapore, Hong Kong, but when it comes to India, he speaks in a limited way, if I may say so. Now, why it is so? We have to search for the reasons that why India has not caught the eye of the world, why Singapore is becoming more popular. We should be able to attract the best of the QC should come to our cities like Bombay. We have so many arbitration, very good centers, and in Delhi. Why Justice Suryakant appears to be suggesting that there are some deficiencies with regard to maybe efficient, it may be with regard to the quality of our professionals, so on and so forth. Cost-wise, I think nobody will be able to match India. We are very cost-effective. And although His Lordship has not delve on the cost part as far as India is concerned, but Singapore would be much more expensive than what we have in India. I'm sure Ms. Sachdeva would enlighten us on the issue of cost. But as far as I can see, India is much more cost effective than the centers like Singapore, Siak and Hong Kong. Therefore, the second thing which I think Justice Suryakant has highlighted is a conducive commercial environment and rule of law, constitutionalism, independent judiciary. These aspects, constitutionalism, for example, are the limitation on every organ of the state. If judiciary has done something, the parliament will not try to annul it. If parliament has done something and it violates the constitution, the presumption is in favor of the law enacted by the parliament rather than declaring it unconstitutional. Unless there are very, very sound reasons to declare a law ultra virus, while Supreme Court is very, very reluctant to declare a law ultra virus. So the constitutionalism, because if there is a very huge award, the parliament may take upon itself by
Yes.
passing a legislation. In past, it
Yes.
has happened. So
Point.
therefore, His Lordship have talked about the constitutionalism also.
Yes.
So
Thank you for your opening comment. I'll go to Neeti Sachdeva, Secretary General of the Mumbai Center for International Arbitration, and with her introductory comments, she'll reflect on Justice Suryakant's speech and the points he made in Malaysia. What do you think?
Thank you so much, Tarun. Firstly, I must thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here and to be interacting with such august gathering. I think my other co-panelists, if I may say, Mr. Sanjay Jain and Justice Kumar, have reflected on some aspects of it. What I want to pick up are the different other remaining aspects of what Justice Suryakant spoke so succinct in her speech in Malaysia. And I think one of the very important factor he said that is though cost effectiveness, but you should not forget about the timely conclusion of the matter, and the two have to run hand in hand with each other. He again spoke about also the minimalistic judicial intervention, which coming from a Supreme Court judge clearly shows that how our judges nowadays are thinking about it. And I would say have gone a step ahead to do their promise of putting India on a global plane for being an arbitration friendly jurisdiction. Whether you look at their judgments in Cox and King or other judgments in NN Global as well, I think the judiciary has played a very, very important role in building that atmosphere that what Justice Suryakant spoke about as well. I think another very important aspect and very close to my heart, I would say, is that what Justice Suryakant spoke of was about joint coordination among institutions, and I quote him for that. And I think it's commendable to see if you look at the last 2 years. I would say last year that we had the Delhi arbitration weekend, then we had the India ADR week, which were basically to celebrate India as a jurisdiction for arbitration and ADR. And both these events, which happened in Delhi and across India, saw participation of more than 40 different arbitral institutions across the globe. So clearly what Justice Suryakant was, adhering to say that there has to be a coordination. I think somewhere look at the Delhi Arbitration Center, look at the MCIA, NPAC, ICA, they've all realized it and are actually now don't think of themselves as competitors, but I would say more as facilitators to make sure that India rises up to be the place to resolve dispute. Very quickly, just one last point, Tarun, before of course we hear our other panelists. I think what's also important for us to consider is that I think it's an unfair comparison when people say that why India is not able to do something what Singapore has been able to do or Hong Kong has been able to do. And for the ones who have heard me before, I'll just sorry for the repetition, but I want to take this to say it, is that Singapore is only probably as small as your South Delhi or south of Bombay. To compare a jurisdiction that small to say that something happens in Singapore, why doesn't happen in India? I think we're a large jurisdiction where you have judiciary coming up with different judgments across, but we have done fairly well for ourselves to be out there and say that come invest in India. We will resolve your disputes quickly. We have a judiciary which is supportive and a legislation which is, all enabling.
Thank you for that opening comment, Neeti. The underlying message from Justice Suryakant I can see in 4 points. First would be pro-enforcement of arbitration. Second, as you highlighted, minimum interference from the courts. Third, also he linked it to investment and the investment climate. So he's linking all this to business and to growth of the economy. I'll go to Mr. Sanjay Jain. Mr. Jain, you have the unique experience on arguing from both sides as the Additional Solicitor General of India, now as a senior advocate who is representing many private clients. If you could share with us your experience on why Justice Suryakant spoke in favor of minimal judicial intervention in awards and the relevance of the statement.
See, the minimal judicial intervention in awards is something which is the need of the hour. Because if arbitration regime has to be sustained in India, then we have to understand that it is the parties who have chosen a particular tribunal to adjudicate the disputes amongst themselves, between themselves. Once the award comes, then the proceedings cannot be challenged or the award cannot be challenged as if you are taking an appeal against it. What is contemplated under our Indian Act is only an objection, which is in alignment with all other international enactments of similar nature. So when it comes to the objections, there also, if the courts would start supplementing their views and trying to, and if they will start trivializing the rationale or the reasoning given by the arbitrators, then it will lead to complete chaos. One thing is very much clear that 34 regime has to be pressed into service with extreme care and wariness. Apart from that, the other aspect which Justice Suryakant's speech reflects is this, that he is extremely conscious of the fact that the execution of decrees in this country takes long time. And that is something which directly affects the environment or the ecosystem of international arbitration when it comes to the enforcement of the international awards. Long back in 1872, Privy Council had observed the difficulties of litigant in India begins when he obtains a decree. So these awards are like decrees now under the new act. So therefore, the situation has to be understood. It is not the same as 150 years back when in 1872 Privy Council made this observation in Raj Darbhanga versus Maharaja Kumar Rampat case. But today, situation of course has improved, but still there is a lot to be done. And it is in this context, Justice Suryakant's observation become extremely important, because if you see last 1 decade Supreme Court judgments, without mincing words, Supreme Court has said that in the matters of international arbitration and their enforcement, there is a pro-enforcement bias. Now, somebody may say that the expression bias is antithesis of a judicial system. But no, we should understand the letter and spirit, and which is what Justice Suryakant wants to point out. When he says that, look, you have a robust legal system, you have a rule of law, you have an independent judiciary, then is it that judiciary is to be blamed altogether? He is actually pointing out that the other stakeholders are also lagging behind. They are not doing their homework properly. And in this speech, what he is pointing out that he has used a very interesting expression. He has used the expression judicial consciousness of Indian judiciary. What he is saying is that so far as Indian judiciary is concerned, it is already conscious of its obligations. It is the litigant, it is maybe the award holder, the decree holder, who is lagging behind, who is not doing his homework properly. If you dig deeper, you will find that all those enforcement proceedings, which are languishing in court for a long time, it is not for the reason because the court is lagging behind. It is for the reason that either the legal team of the decree holder is not making a proper strategy. They file execution petition without doing their homework as regards the assets of the judgment debtor. And these are the things which need to be rectified and improved. And because it's not being done, actually is bringing a bad name to India's ecosystem, for which Indian judiciary is not responsible. Other stakeholders also have to realize their responsibility and become as conscious as Indian judiciary is. This is what I think is the hidden message in Justice Suryakant's address in Malaysia.
Thank you for decoding Justice Suryakant's speech, Mr. Jain. I'll go to Justice M.M. Kumar. I would like to know from you, again, the point that he reiterated of minimal interference in arbitration awards, and reflect on the importance of the statement.
Well, minimum, this is a universal slogan, that minimum interference by court. But we have section 34(2) in domestic arbitration award. We have section 44. Grounds are specified. So on those grounds, the High Court or the Supreme Court will be well within its entitlement to interfere. unless a new convention is created. New York Convention, you see, is the basis of Section 44 and the limitation which have been given. Having said that, I would agree with Mr. Jain that Indian courts are not interfering on a throw of a hat. On a very substantial issue, interference comes, and very little. Mr. Deva has referred to 2-3 judgments of the Supreme Court to advance the argument that interference was minimum. I wish to highlight another point. As a president, National Company Law Tribunal, I had a chance to go to Singapore and interact with the judges there. In the matter of insolvency and bankruptcy, where multiple jurisdictions are involved, JIL, a coordinating effort by the judges, has been evolved by Justice Ramesh Kannan of the Supreme Court of Singapore. And there, when multiple jurisdictions are involved, property is situated in US, UK, India, then the judges sitting from all the jurisdictions participate and then decide. Cross-border. So JIL has been evolved. So similar coordination amongst the judges in respect of arbitration can also be, and Mr. Sachdeva has rightly emphasized this issue. And I believe that similar effort on those lines could be made. They have named it JIL. This arbitration coordination committee at international level can be created, particularly when multiple jurisdictions are involved. So I will also point out that in order to, Justice Suryakant has emphasized that in order to attract investment in this country, the enforceability of the award has to be more efficient, has to be more efficient. That is what he wants to emphasize. And I would say, no, I know one case where an Indian judge in Singapore court was found napping. And the QC who was arguing the matter, he said, kindly record that the judge was napping, and the judge refused to relent, and in fact wanted that the video which was running, that should be taken off, and that part should be taken off. And then the QC insisted that no question, it cannot be taken off. Then the judge left the arbitration. A new judge has to be appointed from India. So if such like things happen, it tarnishes our image. We must, as I think both the panelists have would agree, that we have to pull up our socks. Question of sitting in foreign jurisdiction by an Indian judge, I think that should be taken very, very carefully, and only they should be able to deal more efficiently with the such like impression create problems. I am not criticizing anything, but I am just bringing forward a point which has actually happened.
But thanks to you, we also get some anecdotes on every show.
That is true.
I'll take this to Niti Sachdeva, Secretary General for the Mumbai Center for International Arbitration. Niti, Justice Suryakant spoke about timely conclusion in arbitration. Could you reflect on his statement?
Sure. I mean, again, Tarun, I don't have an anecdote, but something which really happened. So, in 2015, we have our act which was amended. And the act said that we have to finish our arbitrations in 12 months plus a 6 months extension by party, so 18 months. And it so happened that, MCI was just created around the same time. And I was in London addressing a roadshow and talking about what's happening in India and what we are doing. And this was a room full of London lawyers. And, they came up, they did not want to listen to anything else. And they picked up this topic of timely conclusion. They said, Neeti, you have a situation right now where arbitrations take anywhere to 3 to 5 years. And you are now talking about 18 months. So how is that going to happen? Right? Of course, I didn't have any empirical data at that time to tell them that we're going to, do it. But I'm an eternally optimist, an eternal optimist when it comes to arbitration for sure in India. So I told them, I said, listen, we have definitely swung the pendulum the other way from a 5-year to an 18 months. But I'm very confident that the diaspora, which is working in Indian scenario on arbitration, is all geared up to make this happen. And fast forward ourselves in the next 5-6 years, right? What have we seen? We have seen that we saw arbitrations. I wouldn't say all 100% happen, but that don't happen anywhere in the world. I would say almost up to 80% of our arbitrations got resolved in 18 months' time. We saw arbitrators who were accepting 60, 70, 80 arbitrations as an arbitrator stopped accepting them because they became accountable. I have had an experience where a very seasoned arbitrator was approached and he said, sorry, I already have these many matters. I don't think I can finish in 18 months' time. I will not accept it. And then that saw Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court playing such an active role to appoint first time arbitrators. And they've done a fantastic job. So I think, when Justice Suryakant talks about it timely and he says that you link cost to time, he's absolutely on the point of it to say that you have to reduce the cost, but at the same time, you have to make sure that the arbitrations happen in a timely manner. Now, of course, our legislation has done its bit. I think institutions are doing their bit as well to, have a whip on the arbitrators to make sure they do it. But I think it is our lawyers as well and the litigants which need to stop using all those antics to try and derail the process. It's not going to help anybody. So if you look at, that is what I remember when I was a student of law. At that time, Mr. Nariman spoke about having an arbitration bar. And we're still I'm now 18 years into practice, and we still haven't really seen a dedicated arbitration bar. So you have lawyers practicing in courts coming to court and saying, sorry, I can't do an arbitration or I cannot do a court work because I have an arbitration. And that derails the process as well. So I think Mr. Sanjay Jain was very point on to say that Justice Suryakant has made a very pertinent point that judiciary is doing its bit. I think it's time for us to pull up our socks and do it. I think institutions are doing their bit. Lawyers need to do their bits. Litigants need to understand as well that they need to put a stop to all of this. I think, Tarun, one more point I'll make here is that if you look at what legislation, of course, has done, but also what the government has done. So if you've looked at that policy of Vivad to Vishwas, second policy which came by, where they're saying that if you have an arbitration award against a government entity, right, and they've given tabular form of it, that how long an award has been pending, what is the amount involved, a private contractor can go on and negotiate with the government entity, get paid up maybe 70%, 60% or 80% and continue with the business. I think that just reflects the mindset where even the government is looking at, if there's an award against them, it is not that they want to derail the process of giving up the money. But if they find a value in it, they're happy to get payments done, business to run. Ultimately, that's the whole purpose of arbitration.
Points well made. I'll go to just Sanjay Jain, senior advocate. Mr. Jain, two things. When Justice Suryakant spoke on timely conclusion, could you also reflect on the same as Nitin?
Yes, when he says timely conclusion, invariably he is linking it with the cost effectiveness. Because knowing Justice Suryakant has always been a pro-citizen judge, and he always thinks it from the angle of a common man who is a consumer of the justice delivery system. So if the cost of any procedure is high, I mean, arbitration is not meant only for the multinationals or the government bodies who have deep pockets. Arbitration as a remedy is also contemplated for a last man on the street. So when he speaks about cost effectiveness, it is intricately linked with the expeditious disposal of the proceedings. And I agree with Justice Kumar when he says that Indian system is not very prohibitive in terms of cost. But I believe when he's speaking about the arbitration proceedings and the fees of the arbitrators, there I may agree with him. But if you see, if the matter goes for a very long time, then you visualize a situation, Section 9, then Section 11, or then arbitration proceedings themselves, and then a challenge. And if it comes to international arbitration, then of course your Section 48 has only 7-8 grounds on which the award is to be tested. But after Sleepwell case, it is a one-stage process. So judiciary has done its bit to make it simpler for you. But one reason, the absence of a dedicated arbitration bar, and second reason, the overall culture in appreciating that this particular regime of arbitration is coming as an alternate dispute resolution forum. So we cannot treat it the same manner with same kind of a easy go, happy, lucky attitude that it may take its own time, doesn't matter. So we have to be actually a little more serious about it, and we can introduce in the statute itself some kind of incentives for early resolution of the awards which have been passed, maybe in terms of a lower interest rate or some other kind of incentive which can be brought in by a statutory regime, which may ultimately address the concerns which have been raised by Justice Suryakant in his speech at Malaysia. Because when he speaks about cost effectiveness and the long duration of the litigation, this is where, according to him, and I agree with him, because this perception, because ultimately it is all a battle of perception. If this perception continues, then a foreign investor also would feel that, look, if I put my money in India and ultimately if I have to go in a dispute resolution, even if I will have a decree, it would be a paper decree, which I may not be able to execute for long years. So therefore, all the stakeholders, whether it is a contractor here, or it is a employer here, or whosoever is the litigating party in an arbitration, and all other persons, and therefore, in my view, the discipline which is being talked about by my learned panelists here can be achieved in a greater degree if we encourage more and more institutional arbitration, because institutions properly regulate the progress of a matter, and with that kind of regulation, it is not left to the arbitrator or the tribunal itself to regulate. Because if it is not an institutional arbitration, all administrative work is to be done by the tribunal members, and they will not be able to find time to ensure that much alacrity or expeditiousness in the whole process. So we actually need to have a holistic view of it.
Point well taken, Mr. Jain. And we're almost out of time. We just squeeze in one 30-second, 45-second comment from Justice M.M. Kumar. Given that Justice Suryakant, who's in line to become the Chief Justice of India, has made such a statement in favor of arbitration, you see that a lot more will be done in near future?
Karan, I wish to point out that in domestic arbitration, the period has been prescribed 1.5 years. 6 months for pleading. Even that was not liked by Justice Merriman. When the amendment came, he was very critical of that. In one of the lecture which I heard, he bombarded like anything. What is the use of giving the 6-month period? Anyway, but in the international arbitration, we don't have even any such limitation. I was wondering whether any period could be prescribed for finishing the international arbitration. And same thing, I would say, cost effectiveness. There is no Schedule 4 for the international arbitration. So these aspects, I think, need to be pondered over. It is for all of us to impress upon either the legislation or judicial intervention. Because in international arbitration, what I have seen, 7, 8, 10 years. Some of the arbitration have gone up to 7, 8 years. And the lawyers are also at leather. They don't feel the burden of finishing it. Whereas many of the arbitration, on the basis of documents alone, award can be announced, argument can be advanced. There is very little scope for oral evidence. Second aspect, I think the arbitration bar. Now, Mediation Act has been passed by the Parliament. The mediation bar, like the Bar Council of India, would be a separate bar.
Yes.
Now laid down. So why can't we have the amendment in the Arbitration Act saying it will not be evening session of arbitration post 5 o'clock, post court hours? I have been doing arbitration. I keep cases at 11:30 in Niti Bagh. No, 11:30, some of the counsel, they say, we will not be able to come. I would insist that, no, you make your arrangement. It is not part-time job. It is a full-time job. But still, some of the counsel agree. They come and argue at 11:30. But I must confess that 70%, 65% cases are still post-lunch. So if the arbitration bar develops, then this culture will vanish.
Yes. Point well taken. We're almost out of time. On the next show, we get to discuss more. But I would like to thank Senior Advocate Sanjay Jain, Justice M.M. Kumar, Niti Sachdeva, Secretary General NCIA, for sparing time and joining us for this important show on what Justice Suryakant spoke in favor of arbitration.